Hey there and welcome. Ever read or hear a sentence in English and think, wow, that just sounds so smooth? Well, a lot of the time, the secret is just a few small but really powerful words. And today, we're going to dive deep into those words, relative pronouns. Let's get right into it.
So here's what we've got on tap. First, we'll see how these words can totally transform your sentences. Then, we'll cover the basics, which ones to use for people and which for things. We'll also zoom in on the super useful pronoun whose. And then, we get to the pro move, when you can actually drop the pronoun to sound even more like a native speaker. And of course, we'll wrap up with a quick quiz to lock it all in.
First up, why should you even care about these pronouns? Well, without them, our sentences can sound kind of choppy, almost robotic, like a list of facts. Relative pronouns are basically the glue that lets us connect our ideas together seamlessly.
Just look at the difference here. On the left, you've got two perfectly fine but separate sentences. But on the right, the word whose weaves them into one elegant thought. I know a girl whose parents are astronauts. It's just smoother, quicker, and frankly, sounds a whole lot better. That's the magic we're going for.
Okay, so if we want to build these awesome sentences, we need the right tools in our toolbox. The main ones we're looking at are who, that, which, and whose. And figuring out which one to use really just comes down to one simple question. Are you talking about a person or a thing?
So rule number one, and it's a simple one. When you're referring back to a person, your main go-to options are who, that, or whose. You'll hear who all the time, and while that is also super common for people in everyday speech, who can sometimes feel just a little more formal.
Let's see this in action. And do you know the woman who lives next door? Who points right back to the woman. Easy, right? Same thing for the man that sat at this table. Here, that refers to the man. And don't worry, we're getting to whose in just a minute. But you can see it's also used for people, like the children here.
Okay, but what about when you're not talking about a person? Well, it's just as straightforward. If the noun is a thing, like an object, an animal, or even an idea, your toolkit changes just a little. You're going to use that, which, or whose. And here's a helpful tip. Notice that and whose are on both lists. They can work for people and things.
Let's check out a few examples. For the smartphone, that is on sale. That is obviously connecting back to the phone. And the next one, which, refers to the sweater. And yep, you can even use whose for a thing, like this house with its super long grass. So let's zoom in on that one next.
All right, let's talk about what I think is the secret weapon of relative pronouns, whose. This little word is your key to showing possession or ownership in a really sharp, efficient way.
Now, the golden rule for whose is simple but so important. It's all about possession, and it must always be followed by a noun. Always. You can think of it as a smooth replacement for words like his, her, or its. That noun right after it, that's the thing being possessed. And here we are back at our first example. Whose parents? It's so clear. The parents belong to the girl. Instead of a clunky second sentence like her parents are astronauts, we just use whose to connect it. It's clean, it's effective.
And get this, whose is not just for people. Look at this sentence. Whose manager refers to the manager of the baseball team. This is a brilliant example of how whose can describe relationships for groups and things, not just for individuals. So versatile.
All right, you've got the fundamentals down. Now you're ready for the pro-level stuff. Seriously, if you want to make your spoken English sound incredibly natural, you have to know when you can actually get rid of the relative pronoun completely. So here's the magic rule. You can only drop the pronoun when it's the object of its little clause. What does that mean in plain English? It means the pronoun is receiving the action, not the one doing it. If someone else, another noun or pronoun, is already doing the action, then that little relative pronoun can usually just disappear. Look at these. In a meeting that I did not remember, who's doing the action? I am. I did not remember. So that is the object, which means it can go. It was a meeting I did not remember. See how much more fluid that sounds? Same for the last one, the photographer who we worked with. The subject is we. We worked with him. So you can just say, the photographer we worked with was talented. Now, just a quick heads up. There's one little exception to watch for. When you drop the pronoun where, you usually need to pop a little preposition, like on or at, onto the end of the phrase. So for example, instead of saying, the hotel where we stayed, you'd make it, the hotel we stayed at. Okay, I know that was a lot of info, but you've totally got this. So it's time to put that new knowledge to the test with a quick challenge. I'll show you a sentence and you tell me, can we drop the pronoun or not? First one up, here's the book that you asked for.
Can we drop that word that? Think about it. Who is doing the action?
Yes, absolutely it can. You can just say, here's the book you asked for. Why? Because you is the subject. You're the one who asked for it. That makes that the object, so it's optional. Nice one.
Okay, next up. Ellen was the one who inspired me. What do you think? Can we get rid of who in this sentence?
Nope, not this time. And here's why. In that little clause, who inspired me, the pronoun who is actually the subject. It's the one doing the inspiring. Since there's no other subject there, who has to stay put?
All right, last one. Let's see what you've got. The server who we ordered from was polite. Can who take a hike?
You got it. Yes, you can absolutely drop it. The subject of that clause is we. We ordered. That makes who the object, so you can make it a super smooth sentence. The server we ordered from was polite. Fantastic work. And there you have it. You now know how to connect your ideas like a pro and make your spoken English sound way more natural. Try to listen for this and even try it yourself the next time you're having a conversation. If you found this helpful and want to keep mastering the English language, make sure you subscribe for more explainers just like this one. Thanks for watching.